Hi there, welcome to the archives. So, this episode is called Reputation Does Not Equal Character because I've been thinking a lot about reputation. So, I googled the word reputation last week and it said widespread beliefs or opinions that are generally held about something or someone. It is usually spread through word of mouth. That the quotation ended. This is my part now. Reputation is usually spread through word of mouth. Your reputation is about how people see you, not so much how you see yourself. It's like allyship, right? It's not something you claim for yourself, it's how others perceive you and what they have to say about you. So when somebody says your name in a room or when somebody says your name anywhere, really, your reputation is how others come to understand you, right? It's the meanings that they give to make sense of you. It informs whether they can trust you. It influences how or if they respect you at all. It's your reputation that lets people know that they can associate and work with you. It's the experiences that they've had with you. And then they go forth and tell others, right? And so this is important to know because they might not even know you, right? They may be a complete stranger. They've never met you a day in their life, but they've heard this is what others have told them about you. This is what they've seen about you, maybe online. This is maybe what they read about you. And so it doesn't matter if they've actually experienced you one-on-one in person personally. That's not so much, that doesn't matter, right? It's what have they heard about you? What's your name out on the streets? What have they seen online? What are the things that make a lasting impression? When I was growing up, my mother would always remind me that first impressions was everything, right? This is because it's impressions that shape your reputation. Reputation is distinct from your actual character or your actions and behaviors. Who you are isn't always in alignment with your reputation. Don't get me wrong, for the most part, if you're a decent human being, then there can be alignment between who you say you are, who you actually are, and who you pretend to be out in public and what people then take and spread about you. Right? In my experience, that is often true. One's character and one's reputation, it does match. But this isn't always the case. I found that with reputation, when it becomes important, that's when people focus on it. Sometimes you're not actually a good person at all, right? You're not actually following through to make sure that your reputation, your character, who you are, that these things are in alignment. They don't actually care about their character, right? To them, it doesn't matter whether they're good people. It doesn't matter if they're caring. It doesn't matter if they're empathic. It doesn't matter if they treat people well. They have respect for people. That doesn't matter. They can have the dirtiest character and a great reputation because to them, they understand that reputation is really important, right? To them, it's how people perceive them that's most important, not who they actually are. That's the difference between your character and your reputation. For me, character is most important, or is more important than one's reputation, right? One's reputation is what people say about you. Character is who you actually are. And so I want to know who you are. Like what are you like and behind closed doors? Who are you when no one is looking? That's what I want to be able to trust, not who you show me that you are, right? Everyone puts on their best foot forward when they know that money is on the line or when they want people to like them. I did a previous blog on authenticity and how it's really important for when you're in public to be a certain way, but then sometimes when we step home, we're like, oh, I can let my hair down now, right? I don't have to put on a mask. I don't have to pretend to be anything that I'm not. I'm quote unquote safe at home. I'm in private. I could be myself. Well, that yourself, does that match your reputation, right? Sometimes yes, sometimes no at all. So there are so many factors that come into play with our reputation that we cannot control. Women might not have the best reputation in the workplace because of sexism and patriarchy. Poor people might not have the same reputation because of classism. Black people might not have the best reputation collectively because of anti-Black racism, right? The mainstream media will tell people that we're crazy, we're lazy, we're criminals, all of these different things, right? Is that the actual case? No. But these stereotypes have circulated for so many generations that the racists will start to believe that it's true, and you might not get hired. Again, this is also structural and systemic, right? But on the individual level, that, and also collectively, that affects your reputation. Same with disabled people, same with queer people, gay people, lesbians, trans folks, gender non-binary folks. The list goes on, right? If you, who and what you are is associated with negative stereotypes, that might not be your actual reputation, but it's just the stereotype follows you. It precedes you, right? You cannot control some of these things that precede you because of who and what you are and what the world says about people that look like you. I think some people, because we can't control it, then there's this overcompensation for this lack of control, right? We become obsessed with our reputation. That's all you care about is reputation. And it makes sense when so much of your reputation is tied to whether or not you get paid, whether or not you're in community, whether or not people associate with you. So much of reputation is important, right? I tweeted a while ago, and I was saying something like, reputation is a real moneymaker, right? It's your reputation that expands your network. It's your reputation that gets your foot in the door. It's your reputation that gets you that job. It is your reputation that really moves you through life. Reputation is everything. So don't let people tell you that it's not. Reputation is really important. That's not, and this post is not to say that it's not important. Companies who have a good reputation, they do well, right? People trust them. People refer others to them. That company is going to do way better than a company that has a bad reputation. All people do is talk negatively about them. Right? There is merit in this. There's merit in reputation. So I'm not saying that it's not important, or that you shouldn't focus on building your brand or having people think good of you. What I'm asking us to do is to question how much weight we put on reputation, because it forces a lot of people to perform. It forces a lot of us to become inauthentic, and to not be who we actually are, just so that people think that we're a certain way, so that we get our foot in the door, we get a seat at the table, we get that job, we get this person to like us, we get into this friend group, we get into this whatever, right? Because reputation, there's so much weight and emphasis on it, because it's so much tied to financial capital, to whether or not you advance, whether or not you get into that school, whether or not you belong. We put such a huge emphasis on reputation that a lot of us just become these zombies, these robots that are just doing beings so that we have a good reputation. And we're not focused on are we actually good people? Is this who we actually are? So it becomes about the perception, it becomes performative. You might actually be a terrible human being, right? But you have a great reputation. You can think of like when you're watching the news and something so-and-so gets, you find out this awful thing about somebody and you're like, well, they weren't like that. We grew up with them forever and they were not like that. They were this person. They were this person. So many different abusers that you hear about, then it just, we don't even want to believe that this is what they've actually done, because we're like, well, they had a great reputation. Well, do they have money? Could they afford to have a good reputation? Because that would explain a lot, right? That's my issue with reputation. Sometimes people who care most about reputation are not the best human beings. They're actually not great human beings. But they understand that in order to get respect, in order to get paid, in order to have status, in order to advance social mobility, all of these things, they understand the game. They're playing the game. They understand that a good reputation is going to get you ahead, right? And that's my issue with reputation. It's just, are we focusing on who and what one actually is in their character, or what others tell about them? I was watching Selling Sunset, the most recent season of Selling Sunset, and who was it? Nicole and Chrishell had this huge vendetta against each other, or Nicole has a vendetta against Chrishell, or they don't like each other. And there's a lot of rumors being spread, a lot of misinformation being spread, and they got into a fight, and it came out that, Chrishell was said that Nicole was doing drugs, and Nicole was absolutely livid. And people were like, well, you took a low blow, so on and so forth. Her issue was like, you damaged my reputation, right? People taking it on the streets that I do drugs is not a good look for my business, right? It's going to affect my sales. It's going to affect the homes that I'm able to sell. You cannot do this, right? And she threatened to sue her, right? Defamation of character. Often you will hear people be like, well, you spared my name, you're ruining my reputation. They understand that their reputation is a money maker. You cannot mess with someone's reputation, otherwise you're messing with their money. And people don't like to have their money fucked with. They do not like to have their money messed with, right? So you mess with somebody's reputation, you mess with their money. And that's my issue with reputation, is it becomes so much tied into capital and money and advancement in class that we lose sight of who the person actually is, right? A rumor will ruin somebody's reputation, but if you're a poor person, you don't have money, you cannot fight rumors the same way as somebody who has money, as somebody who has PR company behind them, who has marketing and advertising. They're pushing so much money into making sure that who they are out on the streets, who people know them to be, is a good thing, that they're seen as whatever it is that they're seen as. So that's all. Nothing long. I'm trying to keep my videos really short. So we're not doing a huge deep dive. All I'm doing here is I've been thinking a lot about reputation. What is a widespread belief or opinion that people have about you? Do you know what your reputation is? What is your reputation like? Have you asked people about what your reputation is like? Do you have a good reputation? Does having a good reputation bring in a lot of money? Does your reputation align with your character? If not, why? Do you see the correlations between you having a bad reputation and not being as successful? Have people spread rumors about you or dragged your reputation through the mud in a way that it has damaged your reputation? Why? Did that affect your livelihood? Did it change your reputation? If these things weren't true about you, were you able to defend your reputation? Again, in the in Selling Sunset, there was episodes where people were talking about this thing, and the person who's being talked about is not there to defend themselves, right? So did people see your true character? Are you able to show people your true character? Are you afraid that that makes you too vulnerable? Can you take off your masks, or do you feel like you always have to have your masks on? Because again, don't forget that vulnerability is actually very scary, right? For a lot of people, vulnerability is terrifying, myself included. Who doesn't like it? I'll have moments where like I have vulnerability hangover and I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? Is this going to affect this? Blah, 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 right? We get so worked up about what people think and how they perceive us. That for me, at least, it led to a lot of people pleasing, right? When I cared so much about what people thought about me, what they had to say about me, who they thought I was, when I cared a lot about my reputation, I wasn't necessarily thinking about, oh, is this actually who I am, right? I did not do that. I was not the most introspective person. It didn't matter if I was actually this thing. I knew, though, that you had to have put your best foot forward. You had to make good impressions, because that was everything. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. Do you have a publicist or a marketing team that's in charge of making sure that you maintain a good reputation? See how money is really beneficial for reputation? What are your thoughts on reputation? 50 minutes, done. I'm trying to keep my videos to like 10, 12 minutes, so I'm already over. That's all I wanted to talk about was reputation. Until next time, in solidarity. In what? Until next time, in solidarity.